Hello everyone and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimberly. Happy holiday to all our Muslim brothers and sisters. It's a public holiday in Nigeria because Muslims worldwide are celebrating the Eid al-Maulud, which signifies the birth of Prophet Muhammad over 1,400 years ago in Mecca. President Muhammadu Buhari is urging Nigerians to reflect on the virtues of the Holy Prophet by showing love and understanding for fellow citizens. And the president's message to commemorate the birthday of Prophet Muhammad is also asking the youth in particular to shun all negative tendencies as manifested in the recent hijacking of peaceful protests to loot and destroy public and private property. Speaking on the COVID-19 pandemic, President Buhari cautions Nigerians not to stretch their luck too far, even though the country has so far managed the problem successfully. In his words, quote, looking at the trends in other countries, we must do all we can to avert the second wave of the pandemic. We must make sure that our cases, which have gone down, do not rise again. Our economy is too fragile to bear another round of lockdown. End of quote. Tonight, our focus is on Nigeria's education and the approach of the Buhari-led federal government in resolving some of the crises bedeviling that system, especially as it relates to the strike action by university lecturers who are being away from work due to disagreements between the federal government for over 6 months now on several issues. Tonight, we shall be talking to the president of ASU. But before we get to that business, let's take a look at some of your other stories on our political roundup.
The Lagos State government has approved the reopening of schools for all classes in public and private schools across the state beginning from Monday, the 2nd of November 2020, while boarders in public schools are to resume on Sunday, the 1st of the same month. Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi has inaugurated a 9-man judicial panel of inquiry to determine the loss of lives and other grievous bodily injuries to private citizens and the security personnel, as well as the destruction of their properties and other infrastructure in Enugu State. While inaugurating the committee with a 6-month conclusion mandate, the governor charged them to recommend compensation that may be paid to the families of the victims of the hijacked NSAS protest.
I inaugurate this administrative panel of inquiry to determine the loss of lives and other grievous bodily injuries to private citizens and security personnel, as well as destruction of properties of private citizens and security infrastructure in Enugu State, resulting from the hijack of the NSAS protest.
Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak has made a passionate appeal to Nigerians to never turn their backs or abandon the police and other security agencies. He says the worst policeman is better than the best criminal. The governor stated this while receiving the 3 senators representing the state at the National Assembly, who paid him a visit over the destruction of property by angry youth.
The worst police is better than the best criminal. So we need to embrace our police, give them what they need to do their jobs. I'm glad the president has given instructions that the needful should be done to make sure the salaries are increased, their welfare is looked at, and to give them.
So let's get to the business of tonight, everyone. And it's about those university students who are being at home for several months. On one hand, it was due to coronavirus, but we understand that our government is asking students that schools to resume. Now, the university lecturers are saying they're not working, and they have their reasons. The meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of University, which lasted for about 5 hours behind closed doors yesterday, ended without a clear-cut decision as both sides refused to speak to journalists after the meeting. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, led the federal government team, while the ASU President, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi, led the lecturers. ASU's delegation are insisting that the lecturers will not enroll on the government integrated payroll and personal information system IPPIS, but on a preferred platform of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution UTAS. When it is established before the meeting started, the minister said the meeting was of top priority to the government as efforts were being made to ensure universities reopen as soon as possible. Tonight, we have the president of the Association of Academic Staff Union of University, ASU, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Well, we made efforts to get to hear from the federal government tonight, but all those are proven abortive tonight. But we hope that the minister, either the Minister of State or the substantive minister, will honor an invitation so that we can get clarity and Nigerians can get a closure on these issues, especially the Buhari government-led, led government approach to Nigerian education and public schools. So let's get talking with the president of ASU, Professor Ogunyemi, who is in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming tonight. A lot of students are at home, and we know what these idleness can cause. Now, coronavirus and the ease of the lockdown has come, and schools are reopening. What exactly is at the heart of it? Because the last time we had the minister, he told us right on this program that everything looks settled. But yesterday, it was a stalemate. Was it that you did not agree with federal government, or federal government did not come to terms with you?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Nigerians. This opportunity that we have to explain to Nigerians why the strike of our members in ASU has lingered is a golden one. Golden one because for too long we have not been able to explain our own side of the story. It is as if ASU is obstinate, and ASU is not going to take government's persuasion. But we started this strike in March as a result of government's inability to take the necessary steps during the first 2 weeks of warning, starting from March 9. We had a NEC, that is a National Executive Council meeting at Enugu State University, where we gave government 2 weeks to address 5 outstanding issues. The issue of revitalization fund, as they agreed with us, February 7, 2019. The issue of renegotiation of our agreement that dates back to 2009. The issue of reconstitution of the negotiating team so that we could quickly conclude our negotiation of that agreement. The issue of end academic allowances to our members, which they promised to pay 2 tranches, November 2019 and July 2020. Again, the issue of visitation panels to federal universities, which they agreed with us that will be done between April and May 2019. And finally, the issue of proliferation of universities, particularly by state governments, and the issue of governance in our universities. When we engaged government during this 2-week period, government was not too forthcoming because government had a whole year to address those issues. I said February 2019, and the strike we are talking about started 2020. But government was still dribbling us, and government gave us some positions that were not acceptable to our members. Government was now talking of the economic reality, and that was before the COVID-19 crisis. So when the COVID-19 pandemic came up, we still wrote to government to say, well, we have this position that our members have stated that was not acceptable, And we expect government during this period to address those issues. The issue of revitalization, it was not as if it was new. The issue of end academic allowances was not new. The issue of constituting visitation panels was not new. And the issue of renegotiation was also not new, and proliferation of universities. So the situation dragged till the lockdown was lifted partially and later fully. And then we started meeting again. To date, we have had 3 meetings. 2 of the meetings. The first meeting, some hopes were raised, and we thought we were moving towards resolving the problem. But what has actually compounded the situation is a matter that government almost elevated to the topmost level in terms of its importance to government. The issue of IPPIS. IPPIS, we have said, is a distraction, because when we discussed February 2019, the issue of IPPIS did not arise. It was about July 2019 that government came to tell us that, well, there's a policy, everybody must migrate to IPPIS. And we told them, IPPIS was not new to us. It was first introduced to the Union in 2013. My predecessor in office then, Nasir Fage, together we did letters to government to give reasons why IPPIS will not be applicable to university, to the university system, because there is no university in the world where it is being applied. And we also said it will be a violation of the autonomy. In addition, we said IPPIS will bring the university system under the armpit of the civil service, and many more arguments which we advanced.
Okay.
And 2013, that was 2013. So when we met, government said, well, let's constitute a joint team to think of alternative or to work out an alternative. And we were prepared. So we submitted the names of our own members, our representatives. And we're expecting government to get back to us. Since 2014, government did not. It was just 2019 that government came back to say, well, it is now IPPIS or no salary. And we said, no, that cannot apply to us. But
Professor Ogunyemi, just a moment.
You are not going to cooperate with us.
Yeah. So, because on this program, the minister had told us that the government is considering the UTAS, your own system that you brought forward. At that yesterday meeting, did the government agree with the UTAS? Because according to the minister, he said we are ready to do that after the Independence Day celebration. The 4 ministers and agencies involved will gather together with ASU. We will look at the UTAS. If there are shortcomings with IPPIS, as explained with UTAS, have corrected. So they are saying they want to consider that. Was that brought to the table yesterday?
For yesterday, we had done 3 presentations of UTAS. We did the first presentation to the Minister of Education with senior management staff at the Ministry of Education. Then we did another presentation to Senate President and the leadership of Senate. The 3rd presentation we did to government was at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, where all stakeholders were fairly represented, if not fully represented, including NITDA. The relevance of NITDA here is the National Information Technology Development Agency. That is the agency that regulates and evaluates innovative developments in the IT sector. So after those 3 presentations, they all agreed that UTAS was accepted in principle. Now, where the problem arose.
All right. So, Prof, apologies.
Let me engaging government.
Prof, just a moment. We are due for break. You will land on the thought on what the federal government did, and I'd like to ask you whether or not you have been paid since you went on strike. That's going to be next on the table when we return from this break. Everyone, join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We're looking at the Buhari-led government's approach in handling the public education system, especially Nigerian universities. Since the Nigerian university lecturers have gone on strike, now the government has reopened universities, but the lecturers are saying they've not come to terms with the agreement and some of the issues that have been brought to the table. Professor Biodun Ogunyemi is the president of ASU, the University Lecturers Association, and has been talking to us from our Abuja studio. A lot of the disagreement, you've been hearing some of the terms, IPPIS, the Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System, IPPIS, that the federal government brought to the table, which the lecturers disagreed with. They've come with the UTA as an alternative to what they say will benefit the lecturers. Let's get back to the conversation with Professor Ogunyemi. Prof, before you land on that thought, quickly tell us, because the minister told us the last time that there isn't any issue about your salaries. Are your members being paid since you were on that strike?
Well, thank you very much, Seun. There are three scenarios playing out on our campuses of the federal universities. We have those who have not been paid any month salaries since February to date. We have them. Then the second scenario is one in which lecturers were paid up to June 2020. Then the third category is where lecturers have not been paid since July. Now, that third category applies to almost all the campuses. But you know what government has been doing? Government picks and chooses. I can give you the example. Last month, at the Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto, 20 lecturers were selectively paid. And these were people who did not register on IPPIS, including the chairman of that branch, which we know his own case could not have been the case of having migrated to IPPIS. So there is no particular pattern, and it appears there is a deliberate mischief in causing confusion on our campuses and among our membership. So when they say they are paying, they know what they are saying. They know they are selectively paying based on no known criteria for selecting those they pay. And it is a deliberate act to cause confusion among the membership of our union. But where the problem is, as at now, you asked about the situation yesterday. The last time we discussed, we told them why, at this point, we are almost close to getting UTAS finally approved by NITDA. And all we need to do is to go into the final stage of integrity test. But government is still insisting that despite the fact that we have responded to the challenge of providing an alternative, our members should first migrate to IPPIS before they come back to UTAS. And we say this one does not make economic sense. What is the cost-benefit analysis?
Well, Prof,
it will take like 3 months.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Those who are not yet on IPPIS.
Yeah, let's break it down for Nigerians to understand. The UTAS is the University Transparency and Accountability Solution. That's the alternative that the university lecturers have provided to government. So, for example, let's say a lecturer earns 500,000, because what I've heard some of the lecturers say is that their salary is being terribly slashed by the platform of the federal government, the IPPIS. What is the percentage of the reduction in your pay or your take home that is being affected by the federal government owned alternative platform?
Well, the issue of what we call amputated salary came into it because the IPPIS platform was not designed for the university system. So the platform does not recognize agreements, negotiated agreements. Like we're talking about allowances and academic allowances, research journal and other things. And of course, the issue of taxation. Those were areas that IPPIS does not factor into account. Like they gave us one line salary scale. And in that case, it means that they are taxing even allowances, which is not the case with people in the civil service, because the program was designed for civil service. The program was not designed for the university system, whereas we have allowances that were negotiated, collective bargaining. And if you have a software that will set aside collective bargaining aspect of people's income, people are losing as much as 50%, 70% of their salaries. In fact, there were professors that were paid like 8,000 in some months on our campuses. So we don't expect anything otherwise, because
right, so
that platform was not meant for the university system.
Okay,
so it's not sensitive to the flexibility.
All right. So, Prof, again,
And
the question now, the question is about the way forward. So you did not agree at all, because what I'm hearing is that lecturers are saying they will not go back to the classroom until these issues are resolved. Is that true?
Well, I believe our students and their parents will understand. If we have lecturers that are not being paid for 8-9 months, how can we have that person putting in his or her best in the system? If people are going back to the universities and they will be paid half or less of their usual salary, how can we cope with that? And the salary is not the only issue, like I said. There were allowances that were discussed. There was the issue of salary scale. If we have been on the same salary structure for 11 years, I think our members have the right to say, no, that cannot happen. So when we put the 5 issues that I earlier enumerated side by side with what government has done to compound the process, government has made it difficult for smooth negotiation. So at one of our meetings, when we discussed how we are going to approach all other issues, then we came to the issue of outstanding salaries, the issue of allowances, and government said, well, your members will be paid once they agree to go to IPPIS. And we told them, does it make economic sense?
All right, Prof.
We have invested.
Yeah, Prof. Let's wrap up the
income
conversation.
Of our members.
Yeah, let's wrap up the conversation. Yeah, Prof. Let's wrap up the conversation, and we have 30 seconds to do that. But I like to get your view on what has happened. Just in a few seconds, there are breakaway faction who have agreed to go back to classroom. Are you aware, and are you worried about that?
Well, I'm not aware of any breakaway faction, but I'm aware of some of our members that have been disciplined and are protesting their case. So if they say they are constituting a parallel union, that is not known to us. We have had such scenarios before. There was a problem within NLC, and eventually they came back. So I still see them as our members who are having issues with the union, and we are capable of resolving our differences. So I don't think that is the issue. These things we are fighting for will affect them. So we are not going to segregate that because they were not part of this struggle, they are not going to get what we get. So we see them as our members, only that they have issues with the union, and we are capable of resolving our differences.
All right. Professor Abiodun Ogunyemi, the president of the Academic Staff Union of Nigeria Universities, ASU, thank you indeed for talking to us tonight and shedding light on some of these issues that have caused a stalemate between federal government and university lecturers. Thank you indeed for showing up tonight.
Thank you for the honor of inviting me.
Well, you've heard from ASU. We do hope tomorrow we might be able to hear from government. The aim is to get the university lecturers back to the classroom and get those students, those young Nigerians, back to school after 6 months of being away. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Shion Kimbaloye. Bye for now.